All right, get ready to dive back into the world of Squid Game. A ton of you have sent in articles about the final season, and things are going to get intense.
It's no surprise. Squid Game hit a nerve, don't you think?
It did.
I mean, the idea of people so desperate they'll play deadly children's games for money.
It's both captivating and disturbing, yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just about the shock value, right? It makes you think about things like social inequality and the choices we make when we're under pressure.
Totally. But before we go any further, for anyone who hasn't seen Squid Game, picture this. Hundreds of people drowning in debt get a chance to win life-changing money.
The catch is they have to compete in these twisted versions of games we all played as kids.
Deadly versions.
Right, deadly versions.
High stakes. Okay, so we've got a stack of articles here about Season 3.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
What's the big news? What have you found out?
Well, first off, Netflix just announced the release date, June 27th.
Wow, that's sooner than I expected.
It is. And get this, Seasons 2 and 3 were filmed together, back to back.
Hold on. They filmed the finale before they even knew how Season 2 would do.
Yeah, they did. And that's actually really significant.
How so?
Well, most shows get renewed based on popularity, right? They kind of figure things out as they go.
Makes sense.
But filming 2 seasons back to back?
That shows they had a plan, a clear ending in mind from the start.
Exactly. Like they were making a film, not just a TV show.
No last-minute changes or anything.
Nope. They knew where they were going with the story, which means we might get a more deliberate, maybe even a more impactful ending.
Okay, so we have a date, and we know they had a plan. But what about the story? Where did Season 2 even leave us?
Ah, right. So Gi-hun, player 456, remember? He won.
He did, but at a huge cost.
A huge cost. He lost everything. And by the end of Season 2, he's vowed to take down the whole organization behind the games.
So he's like on this mission of revenge.
More like a mission to expose them.
Yeah.
To stop them from hurting anyone else.
But can he really do that? I mean, this organization, they're powerful, they're secretive.
That's the big question. And from the looks of the teaser trailer, it's not going to be easy. There are all these new characters, which suggests new alliances, maybe even betrayals within the organization.
So it's not just Gi-hun against the Game Masters anymore.
It's getting a lot more complicated.
Oh, man. And visually, the trailer looks dark.
Really dark.
More intense than the previous seasons. How do they even top what we've already seen? The tug of war, the glass bridge.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine things getting more intense.
Well, the articles suggest they're going to delve even deeper into those big themes. Social inequality, the choices people make when they're desperate, that kind of thing.
So all that stuff that made the first 2 seasons so disturbing.
Expect that, but amplified.
Oh, great. Just what I wanted to hear.
Hmm.
And speaking of disturbing, remember that mid-credits scene from Season 2?
Ah, yes. The one that left everyone with so many questions.
Exactly. We won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but let's just say it throws a huge curveball into the story.
It does. It's a major hint about where things might be going, and the scale of it all is, well,
bigger than we ever imagined.
much bigger. Okay, but before we go full conspiracy theory.
Let's talk about Season 2's success. I mean, it was a phenomenon.
It was. As of today, it's the second most watched non-English series on Netflix ever. Over 173 million views.
That's incredible.
It is. And that success gives the creators a certain freedom, you know?
How so?
They don't need to chase trends or water down their vision. They can deliver the ending they want.
Bold, uncompromising, the whole shebang.
Exactly. And don't forget about the Emmys. Season 1 swept the awards.
It did. Lee Jung-jae won Best Actor. A historic win.
It was. And that shows that Squid Game isn't just entertaining, it's being taken seriously as social commentary, which makes this final season even more important.
Yeah, the stakes are higher than ever. So, of all this information, what jumps out at you the most? What's on your mind right now?
Honestly, it's how this show manages to be both wildly popular and deeply unsettling. It's like a funhouse mirror reflecting all our anxieties back at us.
And we're all glued to that reflection, just waiting to see what happens next.
Exactly. Will Season 3 give us answers? Or more questions? Will it offer any hope? Or just plunge us deeper into despair?
I guess we'll have to wait until June 27th to find out.
We will.
But in the meantime...
if you want a taste of what's to come, definitely check out the teaser trailer and the first look images.
Good advice. And for those of you who haven't seen Squid Game yet...
well, you've got a few months to catch up.
It's a wild ride. Okay, before we get into our predictions for the finale, was there anything specific from the articles that grabbed you, something you're dying to analyze further?
Yeah, actually, I keep thinking about Gi-hun's mission. He wants to take down the games, but the trailer suggests that this whole operation is way more complex than we thought.
Like, it's not just about taking down a few bad guys.
It seems like this thing is woven into society itself, deeply entrenched.
Which means taking it down might be impossible.
It might be.
And even if he does succeed...
A cost could be enormous.
Exactly. So many questions. All right, are you ready to put on your detective hats and try to unpack some of this?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, time for some wild speculation. What are your predictions for the finale? Will Gi-hun succeed? Can he actually take down this whole twisted game?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's tricky because Squid Game loves to play with our expectations. It's not a simple good versus evil story.
Yeah. Even Gi-hun, our supposed hero, has made some pretty tough choices.
Exactly. So even if he does manage to bring down the organization, what will that look like? What will he have to sacrifice? Will he become the very thing he's fighting against?
Ooh, good point. That's a classic dilemma, and I think Squid Game is the perfect show to explore it. And what about those new characters we saw in the trailer?
Oh, yeah.
They're wild cards.
They are. They could be allies for Gi-hun, enemies, or something in between.
Or maybe they're double agents, working for both sides.
That's possible.
The possibilities are endless.
They are. And speaking of things that are amped up, the trailer's tone, it's way darker.
It is.
More intense than the previous seasons.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
Well, we know from the articles that they're really leaning into the psychological horror this season. Like, remember the glass bridge?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that tension and fear, but cranked up to 11.
I can't even.
It's going to be brutal.
Yeah, and visually, it looks like they're using a lot of the same techniques we've seen in those amazing psychological thrillers, like Parasite.
Ooh, interesting.
The way they frame the shots, the lighting, everything is meant to create this feeling of unease.
Like you're trapped with no escape.
Exactly. And it's not just about jump scares or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's that constant feeling of dread, the psychological manipulation. That's what really gets under your skin.
Totally. And that sense of claustrophobia, like you're being watched.
Yes. Expect a lot more of that.
Okay, and speaking of things that are hard to shake, let's circle back to that mid-credit scene from season 2.
The one that left everyone's jaws on the floor.
Exactly. It hinted at something much bigger, something we never saw coming. Remember how it ended with, describe the scene briefly, but without spoilers?
Yeah.
Chilling.
I know. And I think
yeah.
that imagery is really important. It might be suggesting that potential theory based on source material. I mean, it would be a huge EE twist, but
I'm with you.
What if?
And that's what Squid Game does so well, right? It drops these little hints and lets our imaginations run wild.
Totally. And the fact that they filmed seasons 2 and 3 back to back makes me think they've had this planned all along. Like they knew exactly where they were going with the story.
It's like a puzzle, and we're just starting to see the bigger picture.
And they had the confidence to go all in on their vision.
Which is amazing. And, you know, the success of season 2 definitely gave them the freedom to do that.
Right. They didn't have to compromise or anything.
Nope. And let's not forget those Emmys.
Oh, yeah, the Emmys. That's a big deal. Huge. It's a sign that the show is being taken seriously, not just as entertainment, but as important social commentary.
It's a show that makes you think about inequality, about morality, about what you would do in those desperate situations. And I have a feeling those themes are going to be even more central in season 3.
Oh, for sure.
So with all that in mind, what's your gut feeling? Are you optimistic about the ending? Pessimistic? Or somewhere in between?
Honestly, I am leaning towards cautiously pessimistic.
Okay.
I think Gi-hun's mission will have consequences both for him and the world around him.
Right.
I don't see it being a happy ending, but I think it'll be a powerful one.
Ooh, I like that. A powerful ending, even if it breaks our hearts a little.
Exactly. Because sometimes the best stories, the ones that really stay with you, aren't about neat resolutions.
Right.
They're about asking tough questions, leaving you with a sense of unease, and maybe even forcing you to confront some uncomfortable truths about yourself and the world.
And that's kind of what we need right now, isn't it? Stories that challenge us, make us think, and push us outside of our comfort zones.
It is. And that's why I'm so excited for June 27th. Even if I'm a little bit pessimistic, there's a part of me that's still holding out hope.
Me too. Squid Game is full of twists and turns. Who knows what's going to happen? And speaking of twists, there's something that's been on my mind, something we haven't really talked about yet.
What's that?
We've been focusing so much on Gihun's mission and the organization behind the games.
Yeah.
But what about the players themselves? What about the choices they make and the things that drive them to participate in these games in the first place?
Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
We've been so focused on the big picture, we haven't really zoomed in on the individual stories, the human cost of all of this.
Exactly. And I think that's where the real horror lies, to be honest.
It's
It's not just about the violence or the games themselves.
Right.
It's about the desperation that drives people to such extremes. The fact that someone would be willing to risk their life for a chance to escape debt or to provide for their family,
Yeah.
that's heartbreaking.
It is. And it's a reflection of the inequality in our own society. Right?
Exactly.
The desperation that so many people feel when they're faced with impossible situations.
Squid Game forces us to look at that, to think about the systems that create those desperate situations.
It does. And that's why I think this final season is going to be so impactful.
How so?
It's not just a story about survival, it's a story about humanity, about the choices we make when we're pushed to our limits.
And the lines we're willing to cross when the stakes are high enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a story that asks us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what would I do in that situation?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. Would I be a Gihan trying to fight the system? Or would I be another player just desperate for a chance?
Wow, that's a powerful question. And it's what makes Squid Game so captivating. It's not just entertainment, it's a reflection of our own humanity, our own struggles.
And the choices we face in a world that often feels stacked against us.
Exactly. And that's what I'm most curious to see explored in this final season. Will there be any answers, any hope? Or will it just leave us with this chilling feeling about the nature of humanity?
We'll have to wait and see. But before we go, I have one final thought, something for our listeners to ponder.
Ooh, hit me with it. Let's leave them with something to chew on. So picture this. You're in that world. The recruiter slides you the card, whispers about a chance to win a fortune, escape your debts. Knowing what we know about the games, the violence, the psychological torture, would you play?
Ooh, that's a heavy one.
It is, right? Because it's easy to watch the show and think, oh, I'd never do that. But if you were really in that situation, desperate with no other options.
It makes you think.
It does. And that's what's so brilliant about Squid Game. It's not just a show. It's like a social experiment. It forces us to confront our own values and what we would do under pressure.
Totally. It's a test, not just for the players in the game, but for the audience too.
Exactly. It asks, what are you willing to sacrifice? What lines are you willing to cross?
And are you willing to face the consequences? Because there are always consequences.
Always. So, to everyone listening, we want to hear from you. What are your predictions for the finale? Do you think Gihun can actually pull this off?
Yeah, what do you think?
And, most importantly, would you take that gamble? Share your thoughts with us on social media. We'd love to know.
We would. And don't forget, June 27th is the date. Mark your calendars.
Get ready for a wild ride.
It's going to be intense.
Until then, keep exploring, stay curious.
And never stop asking those tough questions.
Because sometimes the most uncomfortable questions lead to the most amazing discoveries.
This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored Squid Game.
And remember, we'll be back soon to dive into another topic that you choose. So keep those suggestions coming. Until then,
Keep learning.
and keep watching.